Hi, my name is Palak, and I'm originally from Chandler, Arizona, which is a suburb outside of Phoenix. I traded out that desert weather for some colder weather out in Chicago for college, where I attended Northwestern University. And I graduated there in 3 years with a degree in computational biology and data science, and I was on the Premed track. After that, I've worked at Boston Children's Hospital as a clinical research coordinator, and during that time, I also studied for the MCAT as well as took the MCAT exam. Outside of that, I'm also currently volunteering as a support group facilitator at the New Song Center for Grieving Children, which is a program through our hospice where I'm supporting groups of children who have lost loved ones in their family, and they're going through that grieving process. I love to hike. I love to play music. A large part of my background is being a musician, and singing, songwriting, as well as playing the guitar has always been a huge part of my life. And in college, I was on an a cappella group, so that's a little bit about me. My specialty of interest has been orthopedic surgery for a while. I think this has to do a lot with having shadowed that the most, and also being an athlete in high school. I had some orthopedic injuries that needed to be taken care of. But I want to see what more of my rotations have to show in terms of my preference for a surgical specialty over a non-surgical one. And I'm not too hung up on going into surgery if it ends up not being for me. I don't want to be narrow-minded in my specialty, so that's just where I'm leaning right now. I was president of 2 clubs while I was at Northwestern, and at this time, it was actually my sophomore year when I was taking my intense pre-med classes as well. It taught me a lot about time management and how to effectively balance my responsibilities with studying effectively and efficiently. Outside of leadership roles, I was in my a cappella group, which was one of the clubs I was president of, and another club I was in was a research group where we got to run an independent research project throughout my entire time in college. I actually won an award for that kind of full year of balancing all these responsibilities, but also throwing my passion into all of those different hats that I was wearing. I won the Northwestern Leadership Award for my year, which essentially just said that I embodied the leadership values that Northwestern had, and in my case, that was really putting my all into everything that I was doing, even when it was a lot, just simply because I cared that much. A little bit of a hidden key is flexibility. So obviously discipline and consistency are big hitters in terms of keys for success, but I think flexibility is a lesser known key that will let you adjust and kind of improve as you go. And it's something that not a lot of people might anticipate. So no one path looks the same for the MCAT. And I think being too rigid with yourself can sometimes hurt rather than help. And it was definitely the case with me in terms of, having to reevaluate and adjust my plan as I started off, and I realized that the approach I started off with wasn't working anymore. And in order to improve in this area, I needed to change up what I was doing before. And there was a lot of reevaluation and adjustment in order to actually get to my end goal, which isn't how I would have visualized it going in. I'm usually someone who needs a strict plan to follow and will follow that with diligence and consistency. And as much as I would have loved that, I realized that if I wanted to reach my goal, that wasn't the approach that I could take. I used to be a science comic writer, so a unique part of my approach is that I can usually find or create a fun analogy for a concept that you may be struggling with in order to better explain it in a fun way. I would say being able to identify when students aren't getting the point and adjusting that as I see fit. This is kind of done by continuing to gauge for understanding, as well as readjusting and being receptive to feedback. So if something isn't working for you, I'd be very quick to readjust and sort of come up with a different plan in terms of being flexible and being understanding. Because ultimately, as I said, no one path looks the same. And I'm just here to help you learn in the best way that you can. I would say that as someone who has been in those shoes and knows how difficult it can be during that time, navigating all the various materials that are out there, all the different feedback and advice you might be hearing from others who have gone through the process, it's nice to have someone that can not only hold you accountable, but also guide you through what to use, how to navigate it all, and explain whatever content-wise, strategy-wise, journey-wise doesn't quite make sense. And as someone who personally felt like they did have that sort of support network in terms of navigating and figuring out the MCAT, even though it was still an overwhelming journey, I think ultimately what I want to do and what I'm so grateful to do is being a tutor so that I can be holding your hand through that process, because it's a lot. And, walking into it initially, I think it's great to have somebody there. And if I get to be that person, I am so honored and grateful.